Now we have sound. I think it's you. It looks good on stream when I'm looking at it.
Yeah. All right. Well, as said, I'm Shadow. I've been playing Dungeon Dragons since sophomore year of high school. So going on like I want to say 5 years now. And first game I was the DM, and me and my group we would do campaigns. Like we would cycle through DMs that way no one was ever the forever DM. But it was the first experience. Terrible. None of us knew what we were doing. But over time you learn that's the experience, and I tend to like to be the dungeon master. Being the character or playing player characters are nice, but it's nice to be able to tell a story and let every scenario in your head have a chance of happening, depending on whether your players go left or right.
Yeah. or nowhere. We're just gonna sit right here.
That's always fun when it spirals, but I don't know, that always leads to other fun moments where I got peeked behind the DM screen. It's like oh, this character is kind of fun. Characters latch onto them. Suddenly they're very important, and you get to write a huge backstory for them.
We're getting no reply from Brent.
Yeah. 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 Oh. Yeah. That's not good.
I got this. How about now? Am I back? Eh? Do you hear me now? I need a yes or a no, please.
Here, I'll unmute my tab.
Follow.
Yes,
Yes.
they can hear you.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right.
Nice.
But yeah, no, we are talking about Obsidian. So this is a tool that has been kind of coming the up and up over the last couple weeks, months. Everybody else seems to be hearing about this, and I'm just starting to, so I feel like I'm behind.
Yeah. So Obsidian is something I literally picked up before our last session, and it is, quick tangent on how it works. It's essentially note taking, but with hyperlinks. Like for here, you see we have the continent of Crate, the setting, the homebrew setting where my current campaign takes place.
Mm-hmm.
And you see each of these little pink little doodads. They hyperlink to a different page, like different cities, the adventures, and then different factions and whatnot. And say if we were to just click on a random one, let's do Sathilan. It takes us this whole new page with, given that I just picked this up, it's not all filled out, but the part that I find to be the most helpful is with the NPC pages that I like to do. Because
you just
you
link them all together and you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, it's like, oh, they're friends with this guy, just click over to them, or trying to see like, oh, what group are they a part of, go to the Scales of Zell, that's the group they're part of, or where do they hail from, what's their current most location. And you get these like little blurbs here and there. And
so is this rather easy to kind of link to different things? Like as you're typing, use like an @ and look it up, or start typing it and just autocomplete? How's that work?
oh, so yeah, let me show you. Like I'll create like a quick random one. So Control N, call this one not Rondo, Rando. And so like say, because like right now we're in the typing stages, and say you want to create the header, so that'd be, or not header, just one hashtag. Let's say new note space, and let's say like as the probably the most prominent feature of this is the backlinking. You do 2 tabs like that, and you can type in something. Let's say like Rando is connected to the Scales of Zell.
Okay.
Or what you can do is, if you don't already have a page set up, you could do second.
So there's parentheses you're putting up there, or is it just
brackets? Those are brackets.
Okay.
I don't know how well that's coming up, but
yeah, it's more probably just the sizing issue, but
oh yeah, probably.
So basically, it's a way to almost make your own world wiki with very simple commands, right?
Yeah, and like there's like a lot more you can go into. Like there's plugins you can add to it. Like right now, the current layout, that's a plugin that I'm using. It's the go into settings, appearance. I'm not using the base theme. I'm using one that the community made, which is very nice because it's a very much uh, community driven application.
Mhm.
Okay, so it's online. You can share it out with your community. You don't have to only be you running it.
Yeah.
Nice. So legitimately,
Yeah.
it's a very hidden wiki.
Pretty much, yeah. And
I mean, that's
it's
fine. That's perfect. But
Show the little the focus map thing. I thought
oh
that was
yeah.
pretty
yeah,
cool.
no, we were checking that out
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah, it's like kind of like the fun part you get to see, like when you type for a while and you get to like see like, oh, how does everything connect? Well, you just go to the graphic view
Check
and
that
all
guys
of a
out.
sudden,
That's pretty cool.
yeah, you get a then when you highlight one of these, you see, okay, so like what connects to where? You see, City of South Halen connects to all these different little blurbs, or
Hmm.
let's see, the God equation, who has he connected with? Oh, melatonin, serotonin, Rashi, and one of the NPCs. And
Okay.
not only that, but it's also if you're trying to search up something, you just Control O, type in something, whether it's a
So is there a
filter
way
or
I can
something.
color code those? So like if I had my NPCs be one color, my gods be another color, my cities would be a different color.
Well, that's actually where this tab comes in. Is because you create
Okay.
folders, and it's like CC, like right here we have the character folder under character
Right.
folder NPCs. You have everyone you created, and you got factions, major locations like cities, states, minor locations like like a little coliseum. You got your shops, and these are all things that you can create yourself. Like there's no really template. It's what you do, what you choose to create. Like
Right.
do a new folder, and in there, drop that down. New note inside there, and it's as modular as you want to make it.
Right. Yeah. It sounds like it's very balanced on the fact that you don't have to really worry about how deep or how wide you want to go. It's just whatever you want to throw in here. The reason I was saying with the colors would be cool is because then when you go into those graphic modes, you can see your locations are green, your NPCs are blue, gods are red, like so that you could see like, oh, the god connects to this country or this continent, or make it very simple to see over on the eye. But it's just
Yeah, I know. Uh, might
so you have a
actually be
purple
in
guy there at the
Discord.
bottom. I see him. You see him? The
Yeah,
purple guy. What's he?
I believe that's the one you just came from. I could be wrong.
Okay.
Again, I recently just got this, so I'm still learning the bits and
No,
pieces
you're
here.
good.
And there's different parts that you can clip into, but I don't know. It's of course, first impression. I think it's still very like my understanding, of course, is a work in progress. But there's tons of
Mhm.
videos online you can look up for it. But
Yeah,
you know,
for it being a brand new software, it's definitely come a long way. I mean, you got to think there's stuff out there like World Anvil. Uh, what's some of the other ones? Notion, I think, is another one that people are using. Telio, I think, is maybe there's another one out there. It's not Trello. Is it Trello? Maybe it's Trello.
Foundry VTT.
Foundry, yeah. I'm thinking more for organization wise. I wouldn't really use
Mhm.
Foundry for organizing. I'd use Foundry more for actual gaming. Um, yeah, so Trello is another one. There's a couple of different ones. So where do I go to be a part of this community?
Honestly, really, all you have to do is just type in type in Obsidian Note Taker, and I believe it's Obsidian NS or something like that. They just
Let's find out. While you're doing that and discussing, I'll go look.
So to segue away from rules or tools a little bit and get into world building, you've been running games for about 5 years. How long has this continent, this world, been a part of your gaming? Did you start with modules? Did you start out with a homebrew? Where are we at with this?
so like you know it's funny because it's very much the classic nerdy high schooler buddies, gather around the largest table in your home, and you got three things, or you got three things. You got the three books, Player's Handbook, Dungeon Master's Guide, Monster Manual. You got pens and paper, and then you just have your imagination that you may or may not know what to do with. And
Mountain Dew. Always have to have Mountain Dew. Yeah. High school, that's what it was. It wasn't alcohol, it was Mountain Dew. That's what happened. It's probably why the brain worked a lot better back then too.
Probably. But no, Crate was something that I created when it came to, but it's getting close for the cycle of DMing to come back to me. The first campaign I had ran was, unnamed continent with random cities that was built around, let's go from one place to the other. And my biggest downfall with that campaign was it was entirely improv. There were 2 lines written down. It begins on a ship and it ends with a boss fight. But that's one thing you have to learn over time is note taking and prepping. And I still really do love and rely a fair bit on improv. But it's the planned sessions that really boost you to that next level. But Crate, back to the original question. It originally started off as me wanting to make a dungeon diving heavy campaign, which quickly turned into me realizing, okay, battle after battle gets stale after a while. So let's flesh this out a little bit, which is actually kind of where I came into my style of note taking. It's like, let's go down to the continent of Crate. I thought to myself, well, we have the original city where it took place in, Epicurean. We have Epicurean. What other places are there on this world? Well, one thing I find that I tend to do with world building is references. Almost everything that I tend to build with, or everything that I think of when I build with, is a reference of some kind. Like, for example, I don't know if you speak Spanish, but ciudad is the Spanish word for town.
Okay.
Machi, Japanese word for city, and Madina, the Arabic word for city. It's little bits and pieces like that where you can start, and sometimes, of course, you'll change it up after a bit, but sometimes you learn and build from those. South Halen, for example, was a reference to the very first named city I ever came up with that failed first campaign, West Halen, which I thought up on the spot when my players entered a new city. I was like, okay, where are we? I was like, I look at their shirt, Van Halen t-shirt. You're in West Halen.
Beautiful. Love it.
Yeah, very, very much the style of Bob Lynn the Goblin, when it came to world creation back then. But
sometimes you gotta go with that. And it's funny because a lot of times those are the ones where people will click that mentality and they're like, oh wait, that's where he was going with that. And you laugh a little bit and then you think about it and you go, ooh.
Just remind me of Anchorman. Are you just saying lamp because you're looking at the lamp? Lamp. It's how I create names. I just look around the room, figure out something to name it.
Yes and no. I mean, really, in all honesty, though, it's not always a horrible way of doing it because
right.
You just need a reference point. Like you could be like, okay, this is a wall fort.
But yeah, it's like, it's nice because I know one thing that I wanna tell people when it comes to world building is, you don't have to come up with everything at once. Like, I'll take one of my NPCs for example. Let's go with mage. Why not? And I'll make this a bit bigger. Does that help? Or
yeah.
Let's take mage for example. Mage was or mage is a shopkeeper. A shopkeeper I created a little bit before session. It's supposed to be, just this little shopkeeper guy, a little bit mysterious, runs a magic shop. Characters go in, get something, go out. And this is another situation where they kind of like the NPC a little bit more than I thought. So it's kind of like these things where you think, okay, players might come back to this. So you kind of have to you fill out what you have. And I made mage and ooblex, which, if, in case you don't know what an ooblex is, it's a slime creature that takes the form of creatures that they've devoured and whatnot.
Yes.
And I'll say a quick statement the way things are is that with official material, it doesn't always have to be as written, because if you know about ooblexes, is that they're lawfully evil creatures, conniving, scheming, master planning, taking over everything. Well, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to have this evil sulfur smelling slime monster that goes around killing creatures of the city. I just wanted to have a little fun little shopkeeper who takes care of their shops. That's what I did. I took something official, changed a little bit, and make it your own. And I think that's very important when it comes to how you build your games.
And so and he gets new forms by eating the shoplifters that try to steal stuff from him.
That's what it sounds like. When I was reading through it, I was like, oh, so when they steal from him, he becomes the angry, like unfriendly shopkeeper that just instead of calling the authorities, just consumes you, and he would now become a patron.
Yeah, entirely. And it's it's when I was creating this that I started to make more stuff, like the creature Scruff, for example. I was like, okay, so we'll do a little blurb for who this character was, formerly known as Jocko Greyweave, from a kind of organization. Let's make it a thieves guild. Yes, we could use a thieves guild in this world. And the Epicurean Thieves Guild, Epicurean of course being one of the cities. And it kind of goes back to the branching things, like you make one thing, like, and I like to think of it as a puzzle. You create one thing, and it's like, how can I relate this back to stuff? Okay, well, right. They know this person, they know that person, and it doesn't always have to be set in stone right when you make it. I think having everything open to change is vastly important.
Mayor is one. Who's mayor? Going to have to give more specifics.
The mayor? Yeah, I don't. I mean, if you want to talk about some of the mayors that I have in my game, I can.
Mayor of a town.
Oh yeah, mayors of towns. That's in this case we have Mayor Acrolinx, who is the one who runs South Halen, Mayor of South Halen, and well, I won't go into that because that's a bit spoilers for the campaign. But
yep, don't spoil for your players.
Yeah, don't do that. If you're a player, close your ears.
Yeah. yeah. Josh, if you're watching, close your eyes. No, but it's like you got to create little blurbs here and there, and I will say, per my style, a lot of stuff is up here and has yet to be written down on paper. But
there's some rather successful creators that we know that's the exact same way, even after multiple box sets and multiple books. There's still a lot.
No, there's still a lot up in that noodle. That's for sure.
In that noodle.
Yeah, if you haven't had the chance to hop over to the GUI Cube and speak to the man known as Alphinius Goo, that man has more stuff up there than I've met anybody to ever have in their head. We're talking continents upon continents of stuff. I'm just like, bro, it's too much.
And not just the continent. You could be like, so what's in that shack in the woods near that road that goes between these two cities? Oh yeah, I put that on the map because of blah 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 blah. You're like, oh my god, I was joking.
I was kidding. It was a joke. It's not supposed to be the way that was, but oh well, that works too. But yeah, no, we definitely know about the rabbit hole mentality of just linking everything together.
And one thing that I do think is important for world building is actually having a world. And so, like, go to right here is little little blurb I drew.
Yeah.
See if I can. Or is that good on?
I mean,
Yeah, I can see it on the stream.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, and it's like, like you don't always have to like randomly create things. Sometimes, like I know what I did. I sat down and just scribbled a bit, and it'll take you a couple times to draw, redraw, and draw again. But
Mhm.
you come up with these interesting shapes. Or if that doesn't work, there are just, oodles and oodles of different world generators just ready for you to like click auto generate. Or honestly, one of my favorite descriptors, and I'm very sad I don't remember who said this, but it's the ketchup smear. Is you get two paper plates, you put a little ketchup and you smush it around, and then it leaves like this interesting little like outline. Like you got ridges, you got patterns, and like that's some of the ways I know people have made maps there. It's just kind of, I don't know, it kind of mimics the natural generation of the world. It's just chaotic, random, and bits and bobs here and there.
Ketchup World RPG now on Kickstarter. Yeah. Whole thing has to start with ketchup.
That's right. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the characters and the social aspect of world building. We've got kind of the map of the place, the kind of geographical world building. We've got some tools. But what do you think is the most important thing when you're kind of creating social structures, right? Because that's really what it comes down to, is who knows who and who reports to who and who's the big bad boss and all of those types of things. What are your thoughts about that?
So I know when it comes to the socializing aspect of it, I you kind of have to think about like the world is massive, but as the famous phrase, it's a small world after all. You never know quite who knows who, and sometimes that can be a fun interaction. Like you have your characters. You're investigating a vineyard. Money across the town has been going missing, and have tracks that lead over to a vineyard somewhere. You meet the wine connoisseur who tests it, and you talk to him a little bit, and you find out, oh, well, just a random name drops, like, oh, I used to be an adventurer with my group of so and so, who the player may or may not know. And I think it's nice.
Sorry, we got a subscription. Thank you. For some reason my alert didn't go off. Sad. Thank you, Brina. All right. Did we lose him? Did he just die?
What?
Oh, there he is. He's back.
Oh, sorry. I wasn't sure if you were.
Oh no, we were just cheering on our subscriber.
Yeah. Sorry for the interruption there. Go ahead.
Yeah, and it's when you create social structures, you gotta like do like random bits and bobs, because like you go through your life, think of like how many people you've been. It's like tens and tens and hundreds of people, maybe even thousands if you network. And so it's like anyone could know anybody, and it's pretty fun the way you kind of just get like masquerade or work around. Like for example, like let's go to Cersei character, little kid character. Who do they know? They know their friend who they met at the Coliseum. They know, of course, they know their parent, their adoptive father, but they also tend to know that they'll also know a shopkeeper down the street. Like, who do they hang out with? Like, or like Marlo Tucker, an inventor who lives down the street, who they like to spend their time at the shop learning from, or their friend Kieran, the kobold fighter who they met while watching a game down at the Coliseum. I just think it's important to like, if you're gonna make something, like, keep track of it. That is, I have to say, hands down, the most important part about social structures is keep track of who knows who, because character interactions can do anything, like, rinky dink one time character you meet off the street, bard, let's say. You don't realize that, yeah, like you may have just pickpocketed the last gold coins out of the street bard's pocket, but they're good friends with the tavern owner that you tend to like try to barter with. So
No, those are really good points. And like I said, as we're talking about characters specifically and other people, is this affiliations thing is very unique, especially the way they build it in this, because it's not only that you can link them, but when you highlight over them, it gives you a whole script immediately, which I really like that. So if I'm working with a character, if I'm playing as this character specifically, and I'm making sure I remember certain things, I can just kind of scan my cursor over, and it drops that down immediately. It's like, okay, how do you what is this shop, or who is this person? It's like, oh yes, Kieran, the boy down the road,
yeah.
Or oh yes, I root for him every week at the Coliseum. Very strong fighter. I mean, just little things like that. But at least you can get those quick blips without even clicking on them, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, and it's like like social interactions. There's actually also one other bit I tend to like to do with social interactions is, like, sometimes you have like different characters, like like not everyone's a voice actor. Obviously, we're not all Mr. Mercer here, but I know one of the tools I like to use is I have a little voice modulator.
Voice mod.
Yeah, it's like you're talking to, where do I have it? You're talking to this little
I have
demon
voice mod.
guy.
I haven't played around with it yet because I feel like I will get too involved in it, and I've already got too many other projects I'm working on.
Okay, it tends to be a little weird sometimes. There we go. It'll tend to be a little odd, but you find that Warforged, the Warforged ticket teller at the Coliseum, and like, oh, you go up to them, I'd like to buy a ticket, and robotic programming. How's it go? Hello there. This is this on? Kind of like,
It is on.
it is. And you go up to the ticket teller. It's like, oh, I'd like to buy a ticket. Greetings and welcome to the South Highland Coliseum. What can I do for you today? And it's little fun bits and bobs like that. It really helps bring the interactions to light. Or
Right.
or you're doing long distance travel, and you whip out the sending stone. You speak a message, and you hear, "I got your message. Sending reinforcements soon." Kind of like little
The
blurbs
reverb.
here and there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I
All
haven't
All right,
played
you
around
got to
with
do
voice
Crazy
mod.
Clown. I mean, I see it up there. You got
I
to
see
do
Crazy Clown. You got to do Crazy Clown.
Oh boy.
Like you can't just taunt us like that and just not use it.
Oh yeah, crazy clown. When when you're stumbling through the house of Thomas Skelton, the Lord of Bones, and out of the corner of your eye you see a little creeping jester jittering and jiving towards you. As they dive at you with their poison dagger.
No, I'd be a little creeped out about that. You're right. Yeah. Especially when a lot of times I play in the dark, and I'm like, ah!
But it's like, that is one part I really do like about being the dungeon master is you get to use all these nifty little tools. You get your note
Right.
taker, you got your online or in-person boards, or you got your note taker in your voice mods and whatnot.
So do you mainly run online?
Not originally. I was very into in-person stuff, but as things change, people stop, or your high school friends move away to colleges that are over 4-hour drives away from each other. You have to make do with what you can. It starts with Zoom or Discord or Skype or TeamSpeak, any of those things, or even Roll20. I don't tend to use that, but any of those things, you just, if you want to play, you'll find a way.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, guy. That's true. 100%. If you're going to play, you'll find your way to do so. But yeah, COVID kind of changed everything up, which kind of, I mean, I've never been a online DM. Corey, I'm sure, in his years of stuff, that he's never been an online DM for as long as he has been alive, because I know I didn't even know it was a thing.
Yeah,
Corey
it's a whole
Corey
new
barely
world.
had the internet, so there's that.
we had chat rooms with the 300 baud modem.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Back when the
Not kidding.
automaton
I'm that
short
old.
circuits.
I was playing role playing games on
Yeah.
bulletin boards, BBSs.
AOL chat rooms.
Yeah, that was before AOL chat rooms, but yeah. So there we go. See, Brina knows what I'm talking about.
I mean, I completely agree.
So one thing that I love to do when we're talking about that social structure is the layers, right? Sometimes it's branching like you see there, right? But then other times it's like your world is this big, right? You got this tiny little suburb of a city or a little part of a city, and there's a thieves guild there, and that organization has some people in it. But then when you branch out a little bit, well, that thieves guild actually reports to some crime boss citywide, and they have their own organization and other organizations under that. And then you branch out a little bit bigger, and maybe there's a corrupt council member or somebody, a lord who's over all of that. And I think to me, that social world building is about kind of mapping out, okay, early in the adventure or early in the campaign, they're not going to know about this guy way over here who's pulling the strings. They're not going to know about Kingpin, right? They're going to only know about the things that they're facing, and then just layering that stuff out. But knowing ahead of time, kind of what that means, right? So that you have that crime lord in the back of your mind, and when the characters do something, you're like, how does this impact that crime lord's bottom line? Does it pique his interest? Does he send some other people? Does he enjoy it? Do you think it's funny because they burnt down some other thieves guild that was a rival? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, because like back to like this, it's really about how each character has their own sphere of influence, and it could be backstory based, it could be action based, could be interaction based, purposeful or inadvertent. And I know one thing that I would recommend doing is like, it goes back to having still a little bit of improv skill, and a little bit of I guess looking at your own content and saying like, okay, it goes from here to here, but what's in between? Like as you said, you got the small town thieves guild all the way to the Kingpin corrupt official. I was like, well, we got that space. Like it wouldn't make sense for Johnny Two Shoes to report to Mr. Councilman. So, well, Johnny Two Shoes, he has the guy that he talks to, Mr. Shopkeeper down the street, and Mr. Shopkeeper, he tends to work with a bunch of other shopkeepers, and they tend to work with the one receptionist who works at City Hall, and the City Hall, they're the ones who relate to Mr. Congressman or whatever. And it's those little steps that I think really do help build things, as well as like having loose ends, I think can lead to things that will make your games just a little bit more enjoyable. That era of mystery, you know.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Having open loose ends um is always good, you know, having things open that the characters can go back to and engage with. The problem I have with loose ends, when you're especially when you're only playing every once in a while, right? If you have a weekly game, those loose ends come up quickly. But if you have like a bi-weekly or a monthly game, those loose ends disappear. People forget about them. And then you bring them back up, they're like, what's going on? Yeah, you remember 2 sessions ago this guy did this? Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, 3 months
What's
ago, you
going on?
mean?
So yeah.
But I mean, you know, it's it's it is what you make of it, you know. It's to each, I like to say to each their own. Like, you know, my style of play won't always fit with your style of play, or
Mhm.
you know, I tend to like to have a lot of different avenues for things to go on, but sometimes people prefer like a much stricter, you know, A to B to C, not A to A 1 2 3 5 or whatever. And it's, you know, that's the thing that is a little tough, as you might know, from D&D, is finding the right people, the right play style, and then, you know,
I do
but
agree.
hey,
There's a lot of different things that you can do in play styles to make sure that you're blending your play style with your players. Um, and that's just going to make sure everybody's having a good time, because you can't have two different. If you want somebody who's just going to wants to hit something, get the loot, move to the next job, hit
Yep.
something, get the loot, move to the next job, and you are more into the whole, give me a backstory, let me tie this into the world, let me make sure that you feel involved. You guys aren't gonna like
absolutely.
you're not gonna work very well.
Yeah. No, that's not gonna work. Yeah. And I don't know if I said this before on a stream, but I had that conversation with a friend where I was like, you know, the combat is just a means for me to get more role playing to happen. And he was like, well, the role playing is just a means for me to get the combat to happen. So it was like, okay, all
And
right.
we are on these separate tracks.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, well, if this game is all about combat, as your GM for the past decade, I have played a losing game the whole time. I've been losing this game for 10
Yep,
years.
exactly.
So Brina's like, yeah, the note takers don't forget. I wish I had note takers in most of my games.
I do agree. I'm sure. I'm sure we played a wonderful game on Sunday with Brina, and there isn't a lot of like loose ends on that one. It's a very straightforward mission. However, I'm sure she's come up with something. She's like, we'll check this back later. Like after everything's done, I'm gonna throw this out, and you're gonna not remember what happened, and then I'm going to put you on spot, because I think that is one thing that note takers enjoy doing, is they're like, oh, you're game master. Where how can I remember something that you said and be like, well, you said this, so let's go back there. It's
Yeah,
always when you.
three.
It's like when you're walking down the road and you go, there's a tower in the distance. It's slowly breaking on the left hand side, and there's only a small path that leads up to it. But we keep going down the road, and then 2 3 months later, you're like heading back to the town you had just been to, and like, but we want to go check out the tower. And I was like, oh shit, the tower. I only mentioned it for 2 seconds. Yes, the tower. That's what I was like.
Yeah. Or
The
like, you know,
Tower of Goo. We burned it down.
We burned it down. You don't know it's no longer there. You're wondering why.
or you know, like the 3-page notes that you take for the little character interactions. Like, oh well, he was talking about his supply chain, but he seemed uncertain about his next shipment. I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yes.
But it's, I know for well, whenever I get players, I always like to, you know, I think interviewing your players is fairly important. You know, get to know them, who they are, and especially like what are they comfortable with and what are they expecting. I know that's one thing I try to do that I found surprisingly not too many other people do. Is I have a little form saved that I send to people and have them like look over and, like, you know, check this box, like, does this work for you? Does it not work for you? Like, what are
Right.
your expectations? And you know,
I have a
because it's
similar I have a similar session zero form that I give my players when I start either new campaigns or I think the big one I have is when I'm starting a new story completely in a new world. Like,
Mm.
okay, if we're picking up from a module or we're going to customize a module, that's one thing. But if we're going to break this down from the start, where you're all giving me characters and I have to sit down and dissect all of your backstories and go, okay, how are all these going to match up somehow down the road, or which ones are going to match up and how are they going to make sense in my world? Those are when the questions start to appear.
Mm.
Um, I believe it's at least 100 and some pages. I'm now gonna go look because this is
I
what
mean,
happens with me because I wild goose chase everything.
we asking how long Crystal Straw is?
Yeah.
1 second.
He pulls it off the shelf.
I was getting literally ready to go to the D&D Beyond.
Let's see, Crystal Straw. It's the book itself is 256 pages, but
Okay.
See,
So
you
70
only wrote
pages
down
shy. You need 70 more pages, Brina.
yeah, you almost wrote the whole book. It's good.
close but no cigar.
We got to take the. We didn't. We're not. We're including all the maps and pictures and
Right. Yeah.
probably pretty darn close.
Appendix,
Yeah.
stat blocks.
Yep, stat blocks. I mean, there's 2 giant poster maps in there alone, so
Oh yeah.
that takes up 6 pages. Yeah. Oh. No, these are good questions. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, if you're new GMs or if you're new at world building, this is definitely what these are built for. These talks. And if you're not, and you want to come join us, make sure at the end of the show that you scan your little QR code because we're looking for new guests to come in on next year. So
Yeah, that's how I got here. I watched one back in it was like back in October, November, or something like that.
And that was a long time ago. We were brand new at that.
we're still just getting our feet wet.
Yeah,
No,
well,
we
but
definitely got lucky to have the guests we've had, and we're sure to have more. And we're always welcome to have people back too, especially if you have really cool ideas or you're working on something really nifty. I think next year we're definitely going to dive into the three pillars of D&D a lot more. We're going to break it down deeper, getting these into dissectable offerings for you guys to have for yourselves. I know we've talked about it many times, but we're really trying to get that focus down for next year.
so
Yeah.
I got something about world building, and I want to just throw it out there that world building doesn't have to be build an entire world, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be, map out a continent and build everything else. As a matter of fact, you don't even have to like homebrew build world building. World building can also come from, just as a GM, taking something that's already there. Like I believe that you can do a lot of world building with the worlds that are already created.
Yes.
You can do a lot of world building in Forgotten Realms. You can do a lot of world building in Zyathe. You can do a lot of world building in any of those, right? Because you just start building out those social structures, building out, and you can use what's in the book. You can look at the book and go, I like that and I like that, but what if this person and that person teamed up? It's not in the book, but I'm going to see what happens.
Well, yeah, but
And
you
then you
also have to
start,
think it's just a different time frame or a different. I mean, and those are the
yeah,
other great things is you got to remember when you're world building, especially, is doesn't have to be in the same time frame either. So if you like the geography and everything of a specific world, but you're like, you know what? I'm gonna put this giant crater right in the middle. Well, then you have a real good hook too, because now you can say, okay, what is this crater here and why is it here? So, and you can make it as big or as small of a problem as possible, but it makes it easier to, in my opinion, makes it a little easier to world build, because taking that ability to do it from scratch, like it's very difficult when you're just like, you know what, I'm not using anything, it's just gonna start.
That is actually one thing I did want to say is that it's like yes, like the world that I have is I made it all myself, but like I just wanted to show that like I started out with literally like just this little area on the map, the city of Epicurean, which in that is something that I thought of, but I saw something similar to it. And you build, you don't always have to build from the ground foundation up. You can start with something. Like I started with, so a little exposing myself here. I watch anime. I mean, I watch a lot of anime, if you couldn't tell by some of the statues back there. But
I mean, I love I'm more into the whole, you have a Spider-Man shrine back there, and I'm just like jealous of it. But
it's like, I watched anime, and the inspiration for this was this one anime, Danmachi. I saw that, I was like, oh cool, it's an entire city based around one dungeon. I want to do that. And so I built it up, and and that's the thing about world building, is that you get to start small and you get to build bigger and bigger and bigger. Like it started with just that one town, but it spiraled into this entire mess of a continent. Like, like this one little town in the plains, but if like, should you decide that you want to build bigger, which you don't always have to do, like you want to say, like, okay, like they've had their fill of this town. Let's create a little rivalry, little town of Machi, a giant island, a giant floating island mass on top of a lake, or something crazy like that. You got to really let your imagination run wild. Or you could just keep it to that small town, the city of Townsville. That could be your entire campaign.
I like Townsville.
And it's perfectly fine,
Yeah. Townsville got 65 NPCs in it, but I like Townsville.
Yeah, I had a GM start everybody at level 0 in a town, or in kind of a way station town between Baldur's Gate. No, between Waterdeep and Baldur's Gate in the
which, if you look at most of the maps, is nothing. Like it's literally just empty.
That's just like somewhere on the Sword Coast, right?
Right, just on the road going down there. There's a small town. That's where we started.
It's the main road that literally just goes through nothing but wilderness from Baldur's Gate to Waterdeep.
Yeah. So started level 0, built out our characters. He world built the whole town of like 10 buildings and the remote farms around it. And that was like the first 5 sessions. And then he destroyed it. Then it got raided, and all the player characters were the only survivors.
Dude, it's Horde of the Dragon Queen all over again.
It was like,
God, if you've ever played, I'm gonna scream this one to the top of my lungs because I love it so much after just playing the first module portion of it. Horde of the Dragon Queen is the most chaotic adventure I've ever played, and I absolutely adore it. You start out by a dragon ripping through a tavern. What? You're like, hey, adventurers, you're heading through for whatever the hell reason. You stop at the tavern. You're all starting to meet your character friends, and all of this you start to have this enjoyment. And then all of a sudden, the blue dragon's claw rips through the side of the wall, the flapping of the wings, the fire's everywhere. What do? Like, huh?
Am I in the right campaign? My character sheet doesn't seem to be matching this encounter.
Right?
I mean, that's the fun part, Sometimes encounters are just as simple as you see something out of the corner of your eye, roll initiative, The arrows.
That is a dangerous, so I'm going to tell you right there, that is a dangerous way to go. Jumping into the Pantheon first is the dangerous way of playing that game.
Oh, do you want to see the Pantheon? I have my Pantheon right here.
Yeah. Like, I get Pantheons are great, but if you start there, your brain's going to explode because you're a way too big world, in my opinion, personally. Yep. You got to figure out what the world is, and then you build the gods kind of around what the world is so that you've got what matches.
And you can let your players help you with that, right? If you say, okay, your player wants to play a priest, and this is a homebrew world. Okay, well,
You
what's
make the
this
god.
character's god's name, and then you let them kind of define what that god represents through gameplay,
Yeah.
and then you can spec it out later. If you have creative, pretty creative players, and they're not just trying to say this is the god of everything.
Yeah. And if you want that kind
so-
of game, you can have that kind of. There's one guy that's
Yeah.
god of everything. Cool, got it.
Yeah, but sometimes it's also really fun to let art imitate reality. Like for two of the gods I have, you know, goddess of chaos, serotonin, based off of serotonin, the goddess of order, melatonin, based off of the neurochemical melatonin.
Right.
And it's like little blibs like that. And I think one thing that it is fun to play around with is like moral ambiguity. Like, it's easy to have like classic good gods, bad gods, but I think it can be more fulfilling to have the little gray lines. Like, yeah, there's the god of chaos. Like they'll always, like, yeah, there's wars going on sometimes, but it keeps you away from the pure order. Like you stay in until stay inside until day breaks, or
stay in the
something.
lines, stay in the lines, and you've got the other ones that don't stay in the lines at all. And I think that's kind of where I'm at nowadays. Everybody asks me, and they're like, how do you align yourself? And I'm like, I think I'm closing in on chaotic evil. Those things.
I tend to like to. I'd say my alignment is somewhere more towards chaotic lawful, something like that.
Chaotic love.
Evil good. I'm an evil good
the
player.
The evil good gods. I am the evil good god.
All right, we got a few minutes for last call. Any last questions?
Yeah. Yes, I have a question. What are you all drinking? As part of the tavern.
Dragon's milk.
Dragon's milk. Not a fan.
That's pretty good.
Personally, not a fan.
Really?
I'm
It's one of the
Oh,
ones
man,
I
it's good.
can't do it.
I am drinking some good old dihydrogen monoxide out of my +5 sarcasm mug.
There you go.
My
Oh man, that's dangerous.
That's right.
Dihydrogen monoxide. Whew.
Yeah. It's been seen in 100% of deaths across the world.
Oh no. 100%.
Yeah, I think it's found in the in everybody's bloodstream when they die. Dangerous stuff.
Experts say it's even found in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions on world building, on game mastering? What's
I've got
color?
I've got a question for you guys. So let's say that someone wanted to talk more with the community. Where would they go for that?
Discord.
Discord. That's right. Go to our Discord. Love how you said
And
that.
post
Actually, we're
it,
doing
Nightbot. There you go.
Yes, I love that. That was fantastic. Also, for the holidays, we are doing something fun on our Discord. If you hop in there and you go down to the Misfits, you can create your own Misfit. And if you want to tell a little tale, you can tell it in the Filthy Tankard, which is our small little tavern right now. And hopefully this will spread into something bigger. But right now, we're just having some fun since everybody's at home, relaxing. Hopefully not everybody's working right now because the holidays are around the corner. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday, of course.
Yeah. But hey, there's
join
also
us in the Discord because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, same thing with Tabletop Misfit TikTok as well. Twitter, Instagram, all that jazz.
Man, he's shouting us all out for us. Wonderful, man. I love this guy.
I mean, if you're gonna be on TikTok, you might as well check out my TikTok too.
Yes.
Shadow Pilot 6. I post D&D content.
Let me see. Can I get it? Can I get it fast enough? I don't think I can get it fast enough. Maybe I can get it fast enough. Oh yeah, well we're definitely gonna shout you out, man.
Send this video to someone you love. Don't question it. Just trust me. Send it.
Yeah, there it is.
Whoever sent you this wants you to
Nope,
know they
that's
did
the
it this
Discord.
way.
No, that's the Discord one.
I'm gonna love you exactly the way.
That's the one. Let's give a shout out.
And if you want to join the show, like we've said, as the closing screen comes up, there will be a QR code on the closing sign out screen. You can scan that, sign up, and find a time that works for you.
Yeah, and we've had all sorts of crazy conversations. if you want to talk about something specific, make sure when you sign up that you give us exactly what you want to talk about so that we can be prepared to talk about this as well.
Right. And any shout out links you want us to put into the stream.
That kind of thing. And we just added this new way of doing it too. So if you want to actually display something or you have something you want to show off at the same time, we now have a display window that we can show it off. So yeah. Anybody final questions before we call it for last call? Because otherwise my cohorts are going to start beating me with sticks if I don't close this up.
Oh, creamy or chunky peanut butter? What do you say?
Depends. What are you putting it on?
Oh, that's true.
Good choice.
Yeah, I mean, if you're putting it on what's that vegetable that doesn't have
Celery?
any taste? Celery. If you're putting on celery, then yeah, you got to definitely have the creamy, right? But if you're putting it on a sandwich, you need the crunchy.
Crunchy. Crunchy or no?
I'd say if you're going just pure peanut butter on toast, crunchy. If you're going peanut butter jelly, I'd say creamy. You know, don't want to have crunchy jelly.
Yeah, that's a little weird. I didn't think about crunchy jelly,
well,
but I also don't like. I also don't
disagree.
like. I also don't like peanut butter and jelly. So that's something,
A person of culture.
right? Peanut butter and honey on toast. Yes, there we go. I
Yeah.
agree. That's me. I do honey. I don't do jelly. Rather, I do jelly on toast, but I don't do peanut butter and jelly on toast. I don't get it.
I've learned that jelly doesn't exactly agree with mustaches most of the time, so you gotta pick it out after a little bit.
I don't know. The military doesn't really agree with mustaches or beards, so it usually is gone anyways.
Yeah, I just shaved mine off when I got my EMT license, but
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, guys. Well, it's been great talking. As usual, just a couple shout outs. So Sunday is up in the air. So if anybody is planning on coming to hang out with us on Sunday to continue our journey, it's kind of up in the air right now. We're still waiting on our actors to make sure that we're good with that. And if so, we're going to pick up where we start inside of Master Goo's basement as they're collecting the Winter's Dance decorations. And then from there, Tuesday, are you running anything, Corey, or is it holiday?
There is something on the schedule. I think there's Drunken Dwarven Draft on the schedule.
Okay.
But I don't know if I have enough people signed up. We'll find out.
Okay. Yeah. So Tuesday, pretty much everything. Keep an eye on the social medias. If you're in the Discord, easiest way to find out because we posted up in our promos and announcements. But yeah, so Sunday is tentative, Tuesday's tentative, and then next week, Wednesday is canceled. So what we'll do on Wednesday is if we do anything, we'll just be us sitting around here chatting. We have no guest planned for Wednesday because it's so close to the holidays. If I'm not mistaken, it's literally, I mean, we could do something, but we'll see. Everything's tentative because it's the holidays and we can't plan things during the holidays because family, friends, and all that wonderful jazz, which is great. I'd rather you spend time with your family and friends, though I hope you believe we are friends too, which means you'll come back and see us. Last call. Shout out to Shadow for coming out and hanging out with us, showing off this awesome product called Obsidian. You can check that out on the link above. Check out Shadow's TikTok. Give him a shout out. Give him some love. And we will see you next time on Tavern Talks. Don't drink too much for the holidays, but definitely have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas. Here somewhere. Yeah.